Hi, everyone. This is Tim Ney, CEO of Catholic Charities, here with another episode of Community in Focus. Real excited today. Our guest is Jesse Ibarra. Jesse is with the Neighborhood Partnership Housing Services, Inc. And this is our first time interviewing another nonprofit. I'm excited to be here with Jesse. We have a good connection. We met a while back, actually. I can't remember, some seminar or something we did together. And when you meet another true professional, you want to have a further discussion about what they're doing. And this is a great organization. That's why I'm happy to feature you guys. Before we do that, let's learn a little bit about you, Jesse.
Thank you, Tim. Let's see, where do I start? My name is, again, Jesse Ibarra. I'm the Chief Business Officer with Neighborhood Partnership Housing Services. I started my career in the nonprofit sector about 13 years ago. And before that, I was working with a real estate syndicator. Before that, I was a real estate broker, and I was actually an actor at one point. So,
Oh, no kidding.
yep.
Yeah, so take us back to your roots. So where did you what city did you grow up in and go to high school at?
So, I grew up in the city of Downey. So, actually, let's go further back if you want. So,
Sure.
because I think that the reason I'm here today is because of this history.
Okay,
So,
wonderful.
both my parents came from Cuba,
Okay.
right? Both my mother and father. When my father got here, he was, he came at 16 years old. He came by himself because, they were requiring for him to join the military. So when he came by himself, he lived in Florida for a year before he reconnected with his family.
Okay.
So he learned the streets, right? During that
Yeah.
time he had to
Oh, yeah.
survive. And as a matter of fact, he changed his age because at 16, you can't do much in the United States. So he said he was 18 when he entered the country.
Gotcha.
My mom came in a different way. She came in with my grandmother
Mm-hmm.
and my uncle, which is actually her cousin, but was adopted by my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
She came when she was about 11 years old. They were both from Havana. They met sometime when they both went to Huntington Park High.
Okay.
And this was at the time Grease was shot at Huntington Park High School.
No kidding.
So my mom worked as an in the administrative office when it was shot and got to
So
know
for
the
for the younger people that are watching,
Yeah.
Grease is a great show. Classic, actually. Grease Lightning and all that.
That's right. And John Travolta.
John
Yeah.
Travolta and Olivia Newton-John.
That's right. It's a classic. And
Yeah.
so anyway, they met in high school, and, my dad was always the bad boy.
Okay.
And my mom was, a good girl, and she always wanted to make it in life. And as a matter of fact, she always wanted to drive a Mercedes Benz. And in Spanish, my grandmother would make fun of her. She'd say, Mercedes Benz, like, come here. Right?
Oh, got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
hilarious.
so, she didn't think she was gonna, grow up to be rich, but no, my mom really was dedicated, and she actually, my father did well. He's in a trouble, and they actually got married when he was in prison.
Oh, no
And
kidding.
and
Okay.
yeah, and another interesting thing about that was, Tex Watson, I think his name was, who was part of the Manson family,
Oh, wow.
attended their wedding, their
Okay.
ceremony while they were in prison.
Okay.
And so my mom had this sort of, I wanted to save your kind of complex thing. She wanted to save him and
Mhm.
help him. And she did. When he got out, he started going to church, and he was doing really well. And he even helped this gentleman named Aquiles start a church out of his garage, which ended up being El Camino Church in East Los Angeles.
Mhm.
And
Well, they're in Florida, and then they transitioned to Los Angeles then.
yeah. Well, my dad was in Florida. He came to Los Angeles after he reconnected with his family at some
Okay.
point. And then they met, in Los Angeles later. And so after and he's 5 years older than her. So she was like 13 when they met, right?
Mhm.
And he was already, basically graduating high school, and he didn't really graduate. It wasn't thing again. He was a bad boy through and through.
Mhm.
And so they got married. He would get in and out of trouble, but he finally turned his life around for a while. He started an optometry, practice, and he was doing really well, buying properties and getting into real estate. My mom was interested in getting her real estate license, and he did everything possible not to let that happen, and was like, because he was machismo, no, he wanted control.
Mhm.
she said, "No, I'm doing this anyway," and it was the best thing she could have done.
Mhm.
He ended up getting back on drugs and
Okay.
back in and out of prison. They divorced, and she had 2 kids. She had myself and my brother Alan, who's 2 years younger than me,
Mhm.
and she raised us as a single mom for many years, and the real estate was really what kept us out of poverty,
Oh, wow.
and what
Okay.
you know, and in owning these other properties, a lot of them had to be sold just to support, right? Throughout that time, he didn't wanna let her keep all of those properties, but
Mhm.
that the real estate was sort of my foundation. And when I was a kid and growing up at 16, 17 years old, I would go into the office and I would help her with business, cold calling. And that's what got me into the real estate business. So right after high school, I got my license. I became a broker soon after. And at the same time, I was an actor. I was on a TV show for a little while called Clubhouse in the early 2000s. And I was going to college. I was trying to be a realtor, and I'm trying to be an actor, and all of it was difficult, right? Just
Oh,
too
yeah, for
much.
sure, for sure.
You're spread thin.
Yeah.
And at the time, though, this is, early 2000s, the market started doing really, it started heating up. This is
Okay.
when the bubble started, right? Within the
Mhm.
real estate market. And I said, hey, you know what? I'm making a lot of money doing real estate. I'm going to hold off on other things and I'm going to focus on this. Even though I was doing well in acting, that's a whole nother story I can tell at a different time. But I focused on the real estate, and it went well until all of a sudden it all came crashing down in 2007, 2008. I
Mhm.
had already bought my first home at 22 years old. So I'm now in a home and I don't know how I'm going to afford it. My roommate, he was a loan officer. He lost all his business. I was carrying us for an entire year,
Yeah.
trying to figure out how, I don't know how I'm going to keep this going. I can't keep making these payments on my own. And anyway, we ended up short selling it. But that experience made me want to understand.
Yeah, and that was a painful time for so many Americans
It
across
was
the country.
unbelievable. I'm gonna tell you something. So, after that, I started working with the real estate syndicator. They were buying foreclosed properties
Mhm.
from auction, and part of this process was, we buy your home at auction, we show up, and I was the guy to knock on your door to say, "Hey, we just bought your house. What are your plans?
Mhm.
Can I give you cash for keys?"
Mhm.
And it was, very, very difficult, let's just say, it was worst experience.
It's,
Uh,
let's just say it's not the American dream.
no, you're now letting them know, "Hey, you gotta go."
Mhm.
And, all of what you've worked for is gone. And so I had a gentleman, for example, in the city of Norwalk. I knocked on his door one day, and I actually went multiple times. I couldn't find him. I finally got a hold of him, and he came to the door and he tried to commit suicide in front of me. And I had
Oh
to
my
run into the
goodness.
house and actually try to prevent him from committing suicide. And
Mhm.
there was another instance also in the same city, actually not too far from that house, where I went multiple times to the property, didn't, find anyone, went through the backyard one day and looked inside to see if maybe it was already vacated. I saw furniture and things like that, but the door was open. I walked in, I called the investors, "Hey, I'm in the house." They came with a truck and emptied out like, I'm talking clothes, there's dishes in the sink,
Wow.
couch, everything. I felt so guilty and so bad. I
Yeah.
had kept their photo albums, their family photo albums.
Mhm.
And I was thinking at some point somebody's gonna come back and say, Where's all my stuff?" It was like they disappeared out of thin air.
Yeah.
Nobody ever came. We sold the house, and it was so difficult. And my mom at the time was a broker, and she owned an office, and I was managing that office for her. And she was working with a nonprofit organization out of Los Angeles County called NHS County, our
Okay.
sister organization.
Yeah.
And she was working on this program called the Neighborhood Stabilization Program.
Okay.
And this program allowed for us to essentially do what we were doing with the investors: buy foreclosed property, fix them,
Yeah.
but sell them to families who didn't currently own a home and offer them down
Let's
payment assistance.
let's pause there for a
Yeah,
second.
sure.
So you as a young kid, you obviously went through some turmoil. And then here you are in this market where a lot of Americans and people watching this can remember what that was like. And it's so interesting because when I think of home, I think of a sanctuary. A lot of people want to say, my home is my sanctuary. My home is my safety spot. We bless our homes. The priest will come out and bless the home. To lose that home is devastating.
It is.
We remember those times, and they were so challenging. Part of it, I think, was I don't want to use the word predatory lending, but those lenders that were giving what do you call
820 loans,
it?
subprime loans,
Was it stated income,
stated income.
interest only scenarios?
You saw.
So, but being in the real estate industry, you understand the value of having that shelter and the dignity that it provides and the safety for the family as well. So now you're transitioning. So now you're with your mom, you transition over to this LA nonprofit.
So yeah, so I'm working with the syndicator. I'm miserable because again, I'm having to deal with people trying to commit suicide. I'm evicting people from home, and I didn't know what these nonprofits did. I had no idea. They had this program. It was part of the 2009 Recovery and Reinvestment Act called Neighborhood Stabilization Program, and they were looking to expand countywide because they were only serving originally city of LA. There was affiliates in Pasadena and Inglewood. They went out during the foreclosure crisis and also during the time like Jerry Brown dissolved the redevelopment agencies. They relied heavily on that funding, and so they weren't able to keep their doors open. So Lori sort of consolidated and brought in some of the staff from these other groups, and they wanted to go countywide. So this was an opportunity for me to now do something for the greater good, right? And at the time, I was engaged. I was, this is 2012. So I'm engaged. I'm like unhappy, and then they're looking for a broker. My mom tells me, "Hey, why don't you look at this organization and apply and see if, I said, "Okay, I'll give it a shot." I looked them up. I said, "This is fantastic what they're doing. I like it." I applied. I said, "We don't want to hire you for a broker. We want to hire you though, and to help us grow into the east side because we're taking over the county now and we need help here."
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "Okay, I'll do my best." And again, this was 2012. I would call around when I showed up. I didn't know anything about any of the acronyms that we see, all the public funding and what was going on. So it took a couple of weeks. I almost quit the first 2 weeks because I didn't felt like I was not
I
gonna
mean,
provide value.
it's like a funnel of information. And I was going to say that being a real estate broker versus the knowledge and the wisdom that you have today is completely different.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we're talking LA.
yeah,
That's a huge territory.
yeah.
So what was the learning curve was huge.
Oh, it was. It took me, I mean, I'm still learning all the time, but I
Mm.
mean, my first 2 weeks I spent reading through, annual reports and guidelines, right?
Mhm.
Program guidelines, and trying to figure out, how does, and I had heard in the conversation with the CEO that we were going to give back $2 million of some funding because we hadn't spent it. I'm going, hey, wait a minute. There's people who need this money. How can we give it back? So I started calling around cities to figure out, hey, how can we can you help us spend this money? And what I found was, well, every city was having their own issues. Either they had money, they lost staff because the redevelopment agencies being sort of cut. A lot of people left, right? They didn't have the budget for the staff. So now they were like, well, I'm like, hey, well, we have the staff capacity. Give us the money. We'll try to help you. If they had no money and they had staff, we're like, hey, we have money. Can you, we'll help you deploy it. If you have
Mhm.
a wait list or something, we'll advertise. And some of them didn't have either one, right?
Okay.
So in any case, we had a solution. And I started partnering with all these municipalities. And all of a sudden, it's like my growth trajectory in the organization just, ballooned. And within 5 years, a lot of the senior staff had left. They kind of were retiring and leaving. And I started absorbing all these different departments. And that's how I learned really just, the old school, just get knocked around and
Mhm.
figuring it out. And I ended up becoming the broker at one point and the broker of record for both lending, real estate. I was overseeing community building and engagement, redevelopment. I mean, all these different departments. And so I really fundamentally understood the business. And I was there for 11 years before I moved over to NPHS, large part in large reason.
So, your wife now you're married, your
Yeah,
wife is very supportive because obviously you spend a lot of hours at work
I do.
during that
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah. And you got these kids, 2
I
kids?
have three now.
3 kids.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, this is a lot to juggle,
Yeah.
and now you've got some purpose too in LA with what you're working on.
I
Um,
it the balancing of the household is, really owed to my wife because she did take care of the kids. I
Mhm.
I was fortunate enough to be in a position where I can take care of, the finances,
Mhm.
and she really did need to work full time. She worked some part-time here and there, but most of the time she just stayed home, raised the kids, which is rare in these days. And even though it's very difficult for me, a lot of pressure,
Mhm.
um, it worked, and we made it work, and we felt to me was extremely important for her to raise the kids, and I still feel like she's the president of the PTA
Yeah.
right now,
Okay.
and she spends sometimes I'm
So just to reel us back in, so
yeah,
you've got this situation where you're out there, working real estate on the for-profit side. You get to a point in the downturn of the market, you're literally giving notices to families about keys for close
yeah,
or cash
cash
to
for keys,
close, and then you
cash for
transition
keys.
cash for keys. You transition into the nonprofit sector in LA,
Mhm.
learned a bunch of knowledge, and then, you came to the Inland Empire. What was that transition?
Well,
Like
that transition was mainly due to the difficulty of getting anything done in LA, to be quite honest with you,
okay.
and the fact that most of my friends and family were leaving Los Angeles or had already left in search of affordable housing. There was no more affordable housing. To get projects done was very, difficult because there's not
Mhm,
enough land. Land cost is very high.
mhm,
Um, and so I felt like this, and I realized Inland Empire is set to grow twice as fast as any other region in Southern California. Now's the time we get in front of it rather than be chasing the truck.
mhm,
And again, by that time, my cousin, my brother, and other family members had already moved into various parts of the Inland Empire, and I
mhm.
felt like, this is the time to go and serve. And so I have known our CEO Clemente over the years because we're part of the same national network, NeighborWorks of America,
Mhm.
and we would see each other at conferences and different meetings, and we had a really great relationship. And he saw also how unhappy I was and how difficult it was to be working in LA, and not being able to do all the things that I really wanted to do.
Mhm.
And he felt, hey, if you come over here, I'll do my best to make it work. And we've got a really down to earth sort of community here
Right.
where and there's I think a lot more opportunity to really do what you've been wanting. And so I came down, I gave it a shot. This was 3 years ago. I'm going to be celebrating 3 years on February 20th. So
Okay.
coming right up. And it's been the best decision I ever made. It was very difficult because I still live in LA County and commute in. It's quite a drive, but it's been the best thing I could have ever done. And he was completely right. Everyone I've met here has been phenomenal. Meeting even you, like the spirit of partnership is
Mhm,
strong here. I think we're all collectively working towards the same goals, and there isn't a lot of egos involved,
mhm.
and it's a lot easier to get stuff done. We have all these opportunities in front of us, and now it's really up to us to build our future together. And I think that's what we're doing.
Yeah, so that's so interesting. You hit on a lot of things. So one about the Inland Empire that we know is Inland Empire loves to work together, even as a community, grassroots. Part of this podcast in general, speaking to all our parishioners and folks that are watching, is about working together. Uh, there's so much opportunity amongst all the different ministries in the parishes, all the various nonprofits. I think I mentioned earlier something like 11,000 nonprofits in the Inland Empire. Even housing, we're talking about because Clemente and I share a group that we're in with the IHP Foundation, and there's seven different, from what I remember, seven different nonprofits doing housing, in that one group. And it's so interesting because, which one's right? Which is the correct path? Maybe there isn't a right one. Maybe there's a multitude of different things. So for our viewers, can you talk to us a little bit about the different types of housing and what you guys are focused on?
Yeah, sure. Um, Being a neighbor works organization, we all have different ideas and different, I guess, missions, right? They're all related to housing, but we all take on different roles. NPHS is really focused and mission driven around homeownership,
Mhm.
promoting affordable homeownership.
Okay.
And so we do it a few different ways. We have this vertically integrated system where we approach our work. It starts with counseling education. So
Okay.
we are a head counseling agency,
Mhm.
and that for us is the foundation of everything. Is getting folks financially prepared and building that capacities where they could be mortgage ready, and have that economic inclusion.
Mhm.
And so that's where it starts for us. And then we're also a community development financial institution, which is essentially a mission driven bank. We are chartered or not chartered, but certified by the U.S. Treasury, and we get direct funding from the Treasury. And
Okay.
what we do is provide it is the financial piece that's required to bridge the gaps that people face when trying to achieve their goals on homeownership. And then lastly, we are a community development organization, and the type of housing that we focused on is for sale, affordable housing. And we've done that usually through partnerships with municipalities where
Okay.
they're either donating land or other resources to help make it affordable, to help subsidize it. And over the years, we've looked at alternative building methods, right? How do we construct for less, right? And so we started experimenting with various types of construction models, from on-site stick built originally to a modular product. Our first sort of, taste was a modular project with the city of Chino.
Okay.
And then that expanded to utilizing manufactured homes,
Mhm.
and we're using what are called cross-modular homes now, and, they're treated just like any other on-site stick-built home. They're tied to permanent foundations. They appraise just like any other home. The only difference is they're being built in a factory
Mhm.
rather than on-site.
So we're really big on, there's so many ways I want to take this, but first off, you mentioned earlier you have a great partnership also with the San Bernardino County
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
County, a lot of the cities.
Yeah.
We administer programs for just home rehabilitation for 7 different cities,
Mhm.
and altogether with down payment assistance and the home rehab, I think it's around 13 cities right now that we're currently working with.
Mhm.
So quite a bit.
And you're expanding. You also said you had some down payment assistance
That's
as
right.
well.
We
Okay.
we get, again, direct funding from the US Treasury, so we
Mhm.
have, for example, up to $100,000 available for down payment assistance in Imperial County.
Okay.
Currently, through those funds, we just got awarded $5 million through the state, Cal Home dollars. That's gonna be available for folks within San Bernardino County Justice 40 zones,
Mhm.
and, that's up to $100,000 as well for lower-income households to be able to purchase their first home.
So, and we talked earlier, before the cameras were on, about affordable versus attainable,
Right.
and I know there's a lot of controversy over the phrase "not in my backyard" and that sort of thing. And at the same time, there's a balance of what we talked also about, people having a safe place to call home, a place of dignity.
I think a lot of folks have a misconception of what affordable housing is the
Mhm.
issue, right? When they think affordable housing, they're thinking Section 8, there's going to be homeless folks in our neighborhood now. They're going to bring crime, and they're going to bring destruction, and they're going to bring down our property values. And even sometimes it's not even so much the affordability, it's the density that scare
Mhm.
people. I know that certain cities, and some of the reason why people moved to the Inland Empire in the first place was because they wanted bigger lots, bigger spaces, and now these lots and the subdivisions are allowing for more density, and that's scaring them, saying, "Hey, I came out here for a more rural experience, and now I'm
Mhm.
getting this more city, core type environment, and that's not what I'm looking for."
Mhm.
Um, and I challenge folks to think about it in this way, and that is, um, 75% of the people who are buying in the Inland Empire are coming from Los Angeles, Orange County, and San Diego County.
Mhm.
Um, can you imagine, again, my family, and if you have children and they grow up in a certain neighborhood and there's no opportunities for them to go and now purchase and live in their own community, they
Mhm.
have to go outside of their community just to be able to afford. So what we're trying to do is balance things. And
Mhm.
we're not trying to maximize every site. That's our approach, is not to try and just go crazy, but is to bring balance and to bring affordability and bring attainable
Sure.
opportunities for folks so that they don't have to be uprooted from communities that they've historically grow up in, and their families are in. And I think that, the folks who have adult children who are now struggling to find a home,
Mhm.
and want them nearby and want to be able to share with their grandchildren and their
Mhm.
experience and be in their life, are now changing their view on some of these zoning and land use decisions.
Mhm.
And so there is a game of semantics here with affordable versus attainable, but sometimes that's what's needed to sort of change the paradigm within people's minds and how they perceive
Mhm.
this,
Well,
what's happening.
a lot of things are changing, right? There's technology in the way that homes are built, as far as like new technology, new development, cost-effective measures. And we at Catholic Charities are really focused on not just a hand out, but a hand up. So wraparound services, but a real strong focus on workforce development, right? So you said earlier, people living in the community, but also working in the community. And I believe, from my experience, the Inland Empire still needs a lot of professional development and also even bringing in companies that can employ folks at a level we want and provide those job opportunities as well.
I agree. I think everything again, if you look at what makes a community great, it's not one thing. It's not just I
Mm,
have beautiful housing here.
mhm,
It's not I have the best healthcare or the
mhm,
best transportation. It's the holistic approach to community development. And we look at it as a pie, right? And you have these wedges of all of these different things that make it a whole. And
mhm,
so you need to focus on all of them. And that's just one piece of the pie there. And I think that all of it goes hand in hand. So, there's already correlations and like this relationships with health and housing
mhm.
and even educational attainment and having stable housing, right?
Right.
Then there's this workforce housing thing that we're also trying to tackle as well. As more companies do come out and build out here, how do they support now their staff?
Mhm.
You know, with housing needs. So it isn't just creating a 401(k) or providing, your basic, dental and vision. I feel like they need to be also thinking more holistically on what kind of benefits that they're offering to their employees and how do they contribute. And I think it could be a win-win situation where if an employer has, for example, underutilized land, they want to develop and retain that for their employees. I think that's a win-win. They're going to keep their employees close,
Mhm.
right? They're gonna improve productivity, and there's also a diversifying revenue stream here
I,
and asset building.
yeah, and I always usually mention this, I don't know why, but I love education, I love training. We've got great colleges in the area,
Right.
community colleges, UCR, Cal Baptist, San Bernardino State, and, Valley College. I love Valley College. So you've got, RCC. So we got these great, organizations out there for training, for folks in the workplace. So we have to look at housing opportunities, workforce development, of course, medical is a huge factor for folks. You have to have medical. So we're talking about basically the key elements of life to keep your family safe and secure, and it starts with housing for
Well,
sure, right? Tell me more about your organization because I love it. I'm the outsider looking in. You built a great team. What's going on with this team? Clemente and leadership.
It starts with Clemente. So when I joined the organization 3 years ago, it doesn't even look the same as what it is today. And what's special about Clemente is that he says this all the time. I don't hire good people to tell him what to do. So he hires people, as he says, who are smarter than me, who are good at what they
I
do.
think I said that in the meeting earlier. Somebody asked me, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, that's why you guys are here."
That's right. You did say that, and that shows how smart you are. You said, "I'm smart, and I'm smart enough to know that there's people smarter than me on specific items,
Right,
and that's
right.
what I bring him in." And he knows he thinks the same way, and that's what we're doing. We're building a team of just experts and mission-driven individuals who are collectively working for the same goals, and, we have expanded drastically in the last few years, and
Mhm.
we went from, doing just a handful. We had a pipeline of, I think 10 homes when I got there to, we have over 2,300 units currently in the pipeline. So,
Okay.
I mean, just in that very short
What's the
time.
deficit? Is the deficit like 9,000 or I can't remember the deficit for certain areas of how much housing do we need?
Oh, it depends on the region.
Okay.
So I don't have all the numbers off the top of my head, but there is what we call regional housing numbers that are provided to each city to
Mhm.
show you how much how much housing they need to build, and they're all behind. So
Yeah.
it's a
So you got
ridiculous amount.
housing, but then you have the traffic concerns
Right.
and then obviously jobs because you don't want to create bedroom communities, when people have to drive 2 hours to and from work. You know nothing about driving to work, I'm
Yeah,
sure. So,
right. Yeah.
what if someone wants to learn more about your organization? In other words, they want to go through some of the classes, the training that you offer. They just want to learn more about housing. Maybe it's down payment assistance. I have here they go to nphsrp.org. nphsinc.org. Is that
That's
correct?
right. And
Okay.
yeah, nphsinc.org. And on our website, you can sign up for workshops, for classes, and get your, just get on the path to home ownership. If you already think you're ready, we have, applications that you could submit or intake forms on various programs. We have everything from accessory dwelling unit financing, down payment assistance, home rehabilitation, resiliency financing. So if you want to retrofit your home to be more resilient against wildfires, we have financing specifically for that. Most of our, and we even have grant programs through the California Association of Realtors that we provide, and that should be relaunching in the next month or so. And that's a statewide program. So we have lots of different resources. Come visit our website, fill in, and we will have somebody reach out and talk to you more about whatever your needs are.
Mhm. And I'm sure you have credit repair or some place to connect them there.
Yeah, we connect. We don't do credit repair technically in-house, but we provide the tools.
Okay.
Eh,
Yeah, because I've heard there's a lot of young people today that are, wow, will I ever own a home? Because it's expensive.
Right.
Whereas that home affordability, or the American dream, as we call it, seems to be escaping a lot of folks, but there's hope.
I was gonna just say that that's what we try to do. We try to re-inject hope,
Mhm.
and we create, I wanna just say one thing, we create platforms, right? We try to do more with less, but the idea is taking consumers and producers and consolidating of supply chains to provide savings for those consumers. And so part of that is leveraging relationships
Mhm.
and partnerships and resources. And so that's all that we do. So every program, everything that we're doing, and you said earlier, housing is the key. Housing to me is the platform that
Mhm.
is the connector to all of these other things. So we feel we want to reinject hope. There is a way, and we have a lot of different tools for you to make that journey and be successful in
Mhm.
your goals.
I just want to speak to housing. So my thought when I think of housing is putting that key in the door when I get home at night and turning that lock, knowing that this is like the day has ended,
Mhm.
and especially the opportunity to, I'm kneeling by my son's bed and saying a prayer with him before he goes to bed. That sweet moment, and that safety and security is in the house, and then having that job. Anyone watching now, we're talking about collaboration. So, this great organization that Jesse's part of, Catholic Charities, working together with other nonprofits as well. And not only that, but also our local officials who open doors and who pave the way for us. Sometimes it's a struggle. There's going to be issues and challenges. We're looking toward all our avenues and resources to see how we can help make the community more sustainable collectively as a team and as individuals and organizations. So please go to their website, learn more about their organization, the opportunities that are there for you as well. Don't forget that Catholic Charities is always here to support you. You can go to our website and learn more about all our program offerings as well. And also making, opportunities for volunteering, not just for Catholic Charities, not just for Jesse's organization, the Neighborhood Partnership Housing Services, but also all the other great nonprofits that are out there. Get involved. Get involved in your local churches and parishes, however you can, to help elevate the Inland Empire. One team, one goal, working together for sustainable lives in our community. Jesse, thanks for joining us today and sharing a little bit about you and, of course, your organization. And just really grateful for connecting with us.
I'm grateful for the experience. Thank you.
Yeah. So everyone liking now for us, and please like and share and get us out there. And thanks for watching our podcast.